Alright, so we all know summer's getting closer and the days are getting hotter. And as the days are getting hotter, all of a sudden you're thirsty. And you need something tasty and refreshing to cool you down. So you go to your fridge, or some of us has a mini fridge in their office, and grab out a can of Coke. You crack that bad boy open and take a long swig. After you taste a sweet, crisp beverage, you feel satisfaction. Some of you are probably craving one right now. But do you know what you're putting in your bodies? It's not as harmless as you think, and no, Diet Coke isn't better. Today, I would like to warn you on the downside of drinking Coke and what it contains, and most importantly, what it can do to your body. So a lot of us care about our smiles. We like to think a good smile is a good first impression. To keep them nice and clean, we go to the dentist regularly, and to keep them even brighter, we buy teeth whitening products. According to the Statistics Brain Research Institute, Americans spend $1.5 billion on teeth whitening products each year. Now all this effort can be for nothing if you drink Coke on a regular basis. You see, Coke contains a caramel dye to give it its recognizable dark color, and this ingredient itself will stain your teeth over time. It also contains phosphoric acid that will eat away the enamel on your teeth, which eventually can cause cavities and teeth decay. Dr. Renteria, a local dentist from Rio Belinda, talked about a case of a 25-year-old man who remains anonymous. She stated that this patient drank 1.5 liters of Coke a day for 7 years, and on his checkup, Dr. Renteria found crescent-shaped lesions on the cervical region of the buccal and labial surfaces of his teeth due to the phosphoric acid that Coke contains. Now, does anybody ever wonder how much sugar a single can of Coke contains? It contains 39 grams of sugar. That's 9.5 teaspoons of sugar in each can. As if we don't have enough problems causing diabetes already. In reality, consuming that much sugar should make you vomit, but because of the phosphoric acid cutting down the flavoring, our stomachs are able to keep it down. And of course, all this sugar will give you such a rush that lasts up to 40 minutes, and after that, you get that sugar crash, which is a lousy feeling for some of us. At least I think so. All these ingredients can lead to high blood pressure, obesity, and diabetes. And if you consume it regularly, that's a big problem. And yes, it's true Diet Coke doesn't have the same amount of sugar as regular Coke, but it's still very acidic and can do much harm. So hopefully with the information I gave you, you stay away from the can of Coca-Cola, and next time you get there, I would say grab a bottle of water, it's not as bad as you think. And if you want something flavorful, I would suggest maybe some coconut water. It's pretty good. Thank you.
All right, well, since we don't have our evaluator here, our person doing the oral evaluation, you'll just have to make do with my comments. And I've got so much extra time to do that, so maybe I'll spend the next hour talking about your speech. Okay, I won't really do that. I like the visualization that you had at the beginning. I think that you've got some interesting language there. You make it interesting. The thing that detracts from it, of course, is that you're having to read it. If you were just talking to us and giving that description and looking at us, it would be so much more powerful. So it's one of those things where you probably needed to start earlier, practice more so that you could be ready. I can see that you kind of were still struggling trying to finish before you got up to speak, getting everything ready. And that's a bit of a problem. I think you do have a good, clear statement of what your goal is. The preview, on the other hand, is a little bit vague. Your first supporting point seems to be about your teeth, and I like that. That's fine. And there's where some actual information is presented, because you've got an example that comes from the dentist that you had information on, and then there's some factual data about the phosphoric acid and the effect that it has on the teeth. I like that. The transition to the sugar issue it's clear. I think it could be a little bit smoother. And I thought you had some good factual data on what the sugar content is and what the potential dangers on that are. But it doesn't really develop very much, and you kind of just jump to the conclusion that we're going to get diabetes and die because we drank soda, and I think that that's a huge inferential leap that you're making. You're missing an opportunity to develop a broader argument. There's a lot of information about Americans, for instance, eating habits, and there are correlations between our consumption of sodas and a variety of diseases, but you don't have any of that information in your presentation. You just have, like I said, the conclusion that you've arrived at based on the fact that there are 9 teaspoons of sugar in a can of soda. Well, how many cans of soda does the average person consume? How many can be consumed before you get to these kinds of problems? How widespread are those problems? How much soda gets sold in the country every day and consumed on a regular basis? This is all information that's missing from the speech that would have been easy to plug in and fill in your presentation to make it a lot more substantive. As it is, it sounds like it's a first pass at the presentation. You've got like a third of the speech here. Basically, it's 3 minutes and 29 seconds for a 10-minute presentation, so you aren't really getting to the level of depth that we're looking for a presentation like this. And so I don't mean to jump all over you, but you need content. I mean, you've got to add some substance to the material that you've got here. What you have is great. What you have, though, is not enough. It's not sufficient. And so you need to develop it a little bit more. Presentation issues, I think you probably know that some of the problems are that you are still dependent on reading the script, which limits your ability to gesture while you're speaking also and look at us very much. However, I do think that you do a nice job for the most part reading to us. I mean, your voice is it's active and interested, and there's energy and liveliness to it. So that's definitely what you want to do. Now we just got to get those other things plugged in there too, and it just feels like you've taken the first 2 or 3 steps here, and then we're stopping short. And I don't want you to do that. I want you to finish a little bit stronger. All right, thank you.